science is finally confirming what all the ancient mysticisms have been saying and the religions have been saying for years. I study quantum physics. That's my quantum possibilities notebook. At the beginning of this podcast, when I said, I wrote down in that notebook, I'm going to be in a commercial with LeBron James and Serena Williams, and I knew I was connected to Nike, and then I go on to win an Emmy for best commercial that I'm in that was named after me with LeBron James and Serena Williams and Colin Kaepernick. So the uprising is that the common man, not the weirdo hippies, are able to have conversations in the deep end of the pool, and we know how to make it cool.
All right, guys, welcome to the show, Mr. Charlie Rocket. Charlie,
what's up?
Hey, welcome back to Atlanta.
Season 2, hustle up.
There we go. Yeah, we're in a new studio. We've got sponsorship. Mr. Matt Gammon is joining us from the Zeppelin Agency. We're in the house.
Man, he gave me this today. We got talking about Sedona. We got talking about magic and energy and lucid dreams and dimensions. And this is a gift I got.
Yeah,
I appreciate you, man.
No problem.
Hey, let's talk about that, because Sedona is a magical place. Like, a lot of people have assimilated, and we were talking about it last night, how Sedona is a vortex of energy. What does that mean?
I'll tell you. So, warning to everybody listening or watching, this episode might get a little weird, but it is 100% grounded in everything that we already are. It's just, I had like a little rule before I got on this podcast with you guys. I said, guys, like, we got to stop, like, dumbing ourselves down to be general consensus. Like, when we get into the motivation space and we get into, helping people, we kind of create this, like, one-size-fits-all general consensus of, like, chase your dreams and, like, focus and, like, grind harder. But I'm listening to all of our conversations off of the microphone, and it's all about energy.
Right.
I'm like, this podcast has to involve quite a bit of this. Yeah, we'll talk about stories and, successes and, mindset. But the foundation of what we are is energy. Because when we look at what an atomic particle is, it's not a piece of matter. It's a little bit of it is. It's 0.00001% is actually matter. The 99.9999% of an atomic particle, and this is science, is waves. It's not something you can hold. Like, I'm holding this right now, but what I'm holding is 0.00001% of what this is.
And for anybody who's tuning in via audio and not video, can you describe what you're holding?
This is a crystal that, in crystals, they just like magnify energy. Just like in your phone, you have quartz. Why do they put quartz on everything? Because it magnifies energy. So what we are, and that's why we have to be careful about what we are, what we're thinking, because there are things that can magnify what we are. So I'm holding this because I'm tuned to a frequency of like love and like success and dreams. So this is just going to magnify it. So going back to Sedona, I've had some really like interesting experiences in Sedona where it's like made my heart race, because it is an energy vortex. Because at one time Sedona was underneath water, and the water would swirl, and the earth is made up of metals. Okay,
right.
That's why we have an ozone. So if you had two magnets that were opposite and like you like move them closer together, you could feel like this little like ozone around the magnets where they would kind of like repel against each other. You know what I'm talking about?
The place where the forces meet.
Exactly. So there's the earth that is made up of metals. So there's this electric magnetic field around the earth. So it's very important that we're able to like ground ourselves and actually like put our feet on the ground. Yeah. Because so many times we're wearing shoes, rubber. Does rubber stop electricity?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're in our cars. We're on concrete. We're in condos. Our feet never touch the ground. But then when you have magical places on this earth like Sedona, where the water swirled for millions of years, like in this area, and it took this electric magnetic current from inside the earth, and it's just swirling up. I mean, there's trees in Sedona that like I'm like on a little hike, and the tree is completely twisted like a cinnamon twist. Like, that's how much of a vortex it is. So when I go there, crazy things happen. Like, time is not exactly the same as it is when I'm 2 hours outside of Sedona in Phoenix. Time changes, energy changes. I mean, it performs antivirus software on me. It got rid of my 2 business partners. It got rid of my girlfriend. Like when I go to Sedona, something crazy always happens. And I keep going back because I keep getting downloads while I'm there. Like, there's something else. We were talking about it earlier, like our senses. Like, there's 5 senses that we know about. But when I study the ancient Egyptians, they think we had 360 senses. And they were tapped into all sorts of energy. And they looked at the pyramids kind of like how we look at the Hoover Dam. Like, it's not like a monument. It's a thing to produce energy.
Right.
Like, they weren't burying kings and queens in the pyramids. That was a factory. And that's why they were so enlightened, because they understood energy. Because we used to think that there was nothing in between you and I. But there is.
Right.
Because if everything is energy, let's say this table was a pond and each one of us were rocks and we each drop into the pond. Are those rocks touching? No. But do the waves that come off of the rocks touch? Absolutely. They collide, they get entangled. So we're connected to everything we want. And that's what I started believing in my life. And I've been able to do the craziest things in the world, like this notebook. Why do I write my dreams down every day? People are like, Charlie, why you got such a big notebook? I was like, I got big dreams. I'm connected to everything I want already. And I've been able to do the craziest things in the world that I imagine, I see, I feel, I become it. I tune to that frequency, and then they come. So that's why I believe in all this energy stuff.
And everything's a frequency too. And like you were talking about with the pyramids, it's, they line their pyramids up for planetary alignment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They have that
really
line around the world, like kind of where the equator is. It synchronizes with that.
And every pyramid is aligned to the exact same scale of the other pyramid.
And they're all built using the Fibonacci sequence. So they're all built mathematically to conduct energy. And it's really interesting because, what you were talking about earlier was, imagine being back in the medieval times talking about radio waves. You're getting hung in town center in the town square for witchcraft, like you said. And the other practical example that I was able to tangent off that earlier is when you're driving on the road and you're looking at the road, imagine all the patterns that you're missing because you're focused on the road. Right. That's kind of what it's like with our senses. Our senses are the road. Our 5 senses are the road ahead. We know what's there because we can tangibly feel it, see it, smell it, hear it, what have you. But then we're still missing all these patterns that are our ears and our eyes, because there's even frequencies of waves that our eyes can't pick up, or sound waves that our ears can't pick up. And that's just a few of the different patterns that we're missing and not able to tune into.
So I want to take it to the audience who's listening right now, and I want them to, if they're like a little like confused by this, like, and how this applies to them. I'm going to just say this one thing. If you don't know my story and you're listening, I wrote down a very specific dream of mine in my notebook that I felt in my heart was possible. And there's dreams that are inside each and every one of us. And those dreams, to me, that's sacred. Because if there's knowledge that's in you, then I believe that is a glimpse into the future. That's why it was given to you. My dream was never to play baseball. That wasn't given to me. I can't just pick that and go do it. There was a dream in my heart that said, Charlie, you're going to be a Nike athlete. You're going to be in a commercial with LeBron James and Serena Williams. Now, if I look in my life, how's that possible? Because 1 + 1 = 2, that math's not going to add up for me because I can't play for the Lakers. I'm not going to make the Olympics for anything. 28 years old, 300 pounds at the time when this dream hit me.
Right.
But if I saw the dream in my heart, then I knew it was done. Because it's sacred.
You were able to tap into it.
And if you're listening, I was in a commercial with LeBron James, Serena Williams, and 4 weeks ago I won an Emmy as best commercial.
Hey.
I'm on a winning streak.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and hear that. Let's hear about your story. You started off, in the music background, and everyone, you had that video that went viral. But I want to hear your story from your perspective, how you went from being a music mogul to being a Nike Emmy award-winning endorsed athlete.
Absolutely. I grew up here in Atlanta.
Shout out Atlanta.
Atlanta made me. Shout out to y'all bringing me back home.
Yes, sir.
I've been out in Cali. That's where I went to reinvent my life. But this is the city that made me. And growing up, my dad was a blues musician.
Nice.
And then when I got into high school, I lived across the street from the high school. So my house became the spot. And me as a young CEO Charlie, who, buried my dream early in my childhood of becoming an athlete because I was always overweight. I said, you know what? I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I think that's cool. I think making money is cool. This is before, there was Gary V's of the world and, Shark Tanks. Business wasn't exactly cool. Growing up, being a thug was cool. Being stupid was cool. Gangster rap. Looking stupid and acting stupid was actually what the girls liked. But I always kind of had this gift of seeing around the corner. And if we look at it today, now if you act stupid, girls won't like you. If you thug, girls want somebody who is successful and focused. And it's I saw this was going to be the future wave, this entrepreneurial wave. So I believe in this kind of law of attraction identity where if you want something, dress up as it. And give yourself a superhero name. I said, well, I need, somebody who's going to save me. So I'm going to be that person. And I gave myself the name CEO Charlie. And I would dress up. I would wear a suit. I would go to school with a briefcase instead of a backpack. And I wasn't even worried if people would pick on me because I was going to own it so much that I knew what the finish line looked like. So I would never be insecure in the moment. I knew I could be that entrepreneur. And then when my friends started making music in high school, I'm looking at the opportunity let me build a website. Let me get a video camera. Let me put a studio in my bedroom. And my mom, she was nice enough to allow me to do this. And after school, every day we'd have basketball tournament outside in the front yard on the basketball court. And then everybody would come inside and make music. And I basically built this website that was SoundCloud before SoundCloud. It was streaming.
What year was this, would you say?
This was 2005, 2006.
Okay.
And I started filming these videos, and the dance music started taking off in Atlanta, and that culture of young teen dance music cranked that specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And the website started building momentum, and we're getting hundreds of thousands of hits and millions of streams per month.
Wow.
And I didn't know how to pay for it. If I lived in Silicon Valley, I would have known something about venture capital, but I'm just a kid from Atlanta, so I'm trying to figure out how to pay for this. The servers were $2,000 a month. So I'm just hustling, a little advertisement here, featuring an artist there. But I was going broke every single day. But I had something good happening and something bad happening all at the same time. And I graduate from high school. And since I'm not really making money, I can't make my own decisions. So my mom said, you're either going to go to college, or if you drop out, you've got to pay rent. And I couldn't afford paying rent. My mom, she was always very tough on me and wanted me to be a strong man, strong businessman, own my responsibilities. So I go to college. And I remember I got a call one day. It was a 310 number. And being from Atlanta, and when a 310 number calls you, that's a big deal because it said Beverly Hills on the caller ID. And I'll never forget the guy's voice who called me. He had the deepest voice ever. And his name was Brian Washington from Interscope Records. And I'm like, oh, wow, this CEO Charlie thing's actually about to work out after all these years. And he wanted me to be the cameraman for Soulja Boy. So Soulja Boy had just got a record deal with Interscope Records. He was a huge fan of the movement we had built here in Atlanta. because Soulja Boy didn't live here. Soulja Boy was in Mississippi. So he was always looking to what we were doing as like, that's the wave. He just knew how to market it better than anybody. That's why he blew up so big. He had a talent. He had a skill. So when he got his record deal, he said, I want Charlie. So I told Brian Washington, I'm there. Like, tour? Like, let's go. but then it like hit me. I need to like ask my mom if I could drop out of school. So I told Mr. Washington, I said, let me go talk to my mom first, and then I'll call you back and let you know if I'm going. And I go home to my mom's house, which you've been to. Mm-hmm. And I walk in right where the kitchen is with the little table, by the glass doors. Yep. And she was standing up. I said, Mom, I just got the best phone call of my life. Like, this like hip hop thing is real. Like Interscope Records just called me and they want me to go on tour with their newest artist.
That's crazy.
And I remember the look on her face because I'm asking her to drop out of college. And there's only one thing she ever wanted from me. She was like, I know that little CEO Charlie thing is good and I believe in you, but just get your degree. And I was like, Mom, like, I really need this. And I could just imagine what was going on in her mind. Her little baby, her little boy, hip hop, groupies, drugs, sex, tour. You could just imagine. But she thought about it for a second. She had her back to me. And then she turned around and she said, when the door opens, you got to walk through it.
That's right.
Oh.
That's right.
But she said, you got to pay rent.
But here's the caveat.
So it was amazing. I'm out there on tour with Soulja Boy. #1 song in the world. #1 album in the world. And I remember he gave me this like diamond chain. And I was like a celebrity cameraman. There was no such thing as a celebrity cameraman. I think I was the first.
No Instagram yet.
Like, no, this was MySpace. I was popping on MySpace. Like, CEO Charlie was a real thing with the, like, teen movement. And I was feeling myself so much that I kind of got ahead of myself. Like, I stopped being of service. And I was thinking I was a star. But I'm supposed to be of service here. And that led me down, like, a road of, like, distraction. And it got me fired. And I remember the night, October 4th, 2007, and I want y'all to remember this date because this date is extremely significant. And I'll get to it later on in the story. This is the circumstance. Last date of the tour in Atlanta, Georgia, October 4th, 2007. Y'all remember that later on. We'll talk about a little bit of magic. Soulja Boy fired me. I was not a good servant. I was not a good cameraman. I was making things about myself. And I didn't learn my lesson. But I had to go back to my mom and say, Mom, like, I got fired. Coming back home. But I told her that it's not a bad thing. I said, Mom, this is not a losing streak. This is actually a winning streak. Can I get the button, please? I'm on a winning streak. That's what I told my mom. I'm on a winning streak because the cameraman isn't the one who's getting super rich.
Right.
I'm getting to see the whole game. The cameraman position got me in every single door. And I got to see how this whole game works. And the manager is the one who's getting rich. I said, this is the best thing that could ever happen to me. I'm going to be a manager. She said, what do you, quote unquote, what do you know about managing rappers? I said, I'm going to be the best in the world. Yeah. She said, you're a teenager. I said, watch. She said, okay, you've proven me wrong to this point. I believe you. And she gave me her blessings. And I remember I was very humbled. And I'm having to be a street team member. I'm passing out flyers in New Orleans at the 2007 All-Star Game. Very humbled. We go from diamond chains and being in music videos to celebrity cameraman to I'm passing out flyers, which was a very valuable lesson for me because I actually fell in love with this later on. Absolutely. And it's what made me very successful.
You're passing out flyers doing for who? Doing what?
Just a party in New Orleans.
Promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, humbled.
Right.
Very humbled. But my friend who's there, he shows me this video of this girl group. There was this girl he liked, and she was in a girl group. And I saw them, and they reminded me of like a female outcast. Like, they were dope, but like Disney version. Like, they were young, teenage. And I'm like, that's going to be the group. They're going to be massive. I call them. I get to know them. I told them I'm going to get you a record deal. Could I get them a record deal? I had no idea. But I told them I could. It took me 24 hours. And I got them a deal with Interscope Records.
Let's go.
What group was
Sell
that?
it first, figure it out
Vistoso
after.
Bosses.
Vistoso?
Yeah, you never heard of them, and I'll tell you why. So I got Vistoso Bosses on 106 and Park. Get them on the radio, V103.
Wow.
Like, we're moving, right? I get them a show in Washington, D.C., and I felt energy, bad energy. Like, you just know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There are no secrets. Like, if we're all connected, if we're all waves, then you know. And I felt this bad vibe from them. And then when they got off stage, they're like cussing me out. I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? You didn't give us water. I'm like, I got you a record deal. Like, I got you this show. Like, what are you talking about? But they needed something to be mad at me about. And I couldn't figure out why. And then I remember we go to the airport. And they wouldn't even stand next to me. And I'm like, oh, I know this feeling. It was the same exact feeling I had when Soulja Boy was firing me. And in that moment, I was like, I think I'm fired. And I have no idea why. Come to find out, Sierra's manager, big industry manager, Falana Williams, had got in their ear. It's like, y'all are a big group. Y'all can't have a teenage manager. Y'all need a big manager. Y'all are going to be superstars. And so they left me. Go back to my mom's basement. And I'm like, Mom, I'm having a hard time with this little hip hop thing. I got fired again. But you know what? This isn't a losing streak. This is a winning streak. And I'm like super optimistic. And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, you see, I'm from Atlanta. And Atlanta is all about the club scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I can't even take these girls to the club. I need a club artist. I got to be true to where I'm from. It's time to have some fun.
Yeah.
And one of the girls in this group introduced me to a guy in another group. And that's going to be my group. And they're going to be the biggest club group in Atlanta. And I said, I'm on a winning streak. This is a blessing. There's nothing wrong with this. I went and signed that guy group. Their name was Travis Porter.
Yeah.
Legends in Atlanta.
Atlanta legends. And all in the club. Every strip club song you can imagine. And at this point in my life, I knew I wanted to level up. I knew I didn't want to rely on a record deal. I didn't want to rely on anybody else. I was done with me thinking I was important. Me making this about me. I remember I even deleted my MySpace page. And I made everything about them. I made nothing about me. There was this guy. So my grandfather sold vacuum cleaners. My dad sold vacuum cleaners. My mom sold vacuum cleaners. And I sold vacuum cleaners. And my mom had this one manager that she loved working for at the Sandy Springs branch. And his name was Bill Cook. I call him OG Bill Cook. And I went to him after getting fired over and over and over. And I said, Bill, why does everybody keep leaving me? My mom loved working for you. How do I get people to love being a part of my team? He said, Charlie, you need to be a servant. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm industry. They're signed to me. They're signed to my company. Like, I'm the man. He said, no, that's your problem.
Yeah.
You're not of servitude. You want somebody not to leave you? You care about their dreams. You help their dreams come true. And if you make their dreams come true, then yours come true. This has nothing to do with you. You are a byproduct. You make them rich, you'll get rich. So you got to listen. You got to communicate. And you got to be of servitude. And so I deleted my MySpace page. I poured every ounce of my energy into Travis Porter, and I went back to those humble moments of when I was passing out flyers. And I started passing out CDs every night as the manager. There were people in the game. I remember OG Carl Washington, who put me into the management game. He said, Charlie, like, put down the camera. You're a manager now. He said, stop passing out CDs. You're a manager now.
Whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm. And I said, no, it doesn't feel right. Like, nobody respects me. They don't respect me if I'm holding the camera or if I'm not holding the camera because I'm 19 years old. So for them to respect me, I just need to be known as the guy who gets shit done, period, at all costs. I can't get too fancy. Right. I'm not in a position to be fancy. I'm going to pass out these CDs every night, and I would pass them out every single night, every single club. I would have CD stuffing parties myself. My fingers were like destroyed from stuffing 150,000 CDs. We would take every penny we made, put it right back into CDs. Birthday bash, 30,000 CDs, Macon, Georgia, Warner Robins, Augusta, Georgia, everywhere we could, passing out CDs for Travis Porter, and I would do it myself. And then we would work our way up the charts. It started with the MySpace charts. Then it started going up the radio charts. I worked records top 20 in the country without spending a penny on radio. Now, just for a little insight for everybody who's listening, if you hear a song on the radio that's about top 20, top 10 in the country, it was probably about between $75,000 and $200,000 spent to get that song there.
Yep.
I would drive from every radio station from Jackson, Mississippi to Washington, D.C., and I would apply that same knowledge I learned from vacuum cleaner sales to knocking on doors of radio stations. I would get creative, and I would learn. I became a professor of the jungle. I had to know where, and I got this term from Shoe Dog. Phil Knight's book. And at the very end of the book, he breaks down how the general of the Vietnam Army is the only general that beat U.S., France, beat the biggest countries in the world. Just a little general of the country. And he beat every major army in the world. Whoa. Why aren't we studying that guy?
Yeah.
He's got the answers.
Right.
And so when Phil Knight asked him the question, he said, how did you do it? This little country beats all the biggest armies. He said, I was a professor of the jungle. I knew where every trench was. Mm-hmm. I knew where every tree was. I knew everything about the jungle. And that's why I won. And I wanted to do this with music. How can I make myself so knowledgeable with how every single thing works? Okay, what's the club that influences the mix show DJs at this radio station? And this radio station influences all the other radio stations. So this is what I broke down. Blue Flame Lounge, west side of Atlanta. Every single night is a very poppin' night. And the DJs that work there are also on the mix show of Hot 107.9. Okay. So if I need Hot 107.9, which is the Radio 1 station that all the other Radio 1 stations across the country get on a call with, say, what's the new songs that are probably going to go national? Okay, so Hot 107.9 is influenced by its mix show DJs. The mix show DJs are at this club, and there are these certain dancers that always tell these mix show DJs what they want to hear in the club. So now I've reversed it all the way down from national song to these 5 or 6 dancers. Let me go get those dancers. Let me go listen to them. Let me go care about them. Let me go take care of them and support what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And they will influence the DJ. The DJ influences the program director. Program director influences all of Radio 1. Now we have a national song because I focused on one club. I became a professor of the jungle. Yeah. And I was doing this in every single city that was I call it a pin action city. There's certain cities that are like when you're bowling. You knock down one pin, it knocks down 5 others. It's a lot more efficient than trying to knock down 5 pins individually.
Right.
They only give us two bowls, 2 balls per roll, right? So I need to find the pins that knock down all the rest. And so this is the clarity that I got in my life when I got out of my ego. I got into servitude, and I wanted to win so bad. I was tired of failing so bad that it forced me into this. And I remember my business partners would call me. They're like, Charlie, where you at? I'm like, I'm driving to Jackson, Mississippi. I'm like, okay, like, you're crazy, but keep going. Like, whatever you're doing, just keep going. But I wanted it that bad. And then I remember I've got top 10 records in the country. The big time radio DJs are coming out of the club 4 o'clock in the morning, last ones to come out, and I'm staying because I want them to see me. That DJ, like J Nix, ETJ Nix, like, they're walking out last. I want them to see me. Yeah, they've gotten this CD 7 other times. They're going to get it 8. They're like, Charlie, I already got the CD. I said, give it to somebody. Because when they see me, it leaves a memory stamp in their mind of how bad I want this. Mm-hmm. And they, when they're in their music meetings, deciding which songs are going into rotation, they're going to remember that the manager wanted it so bad. So they're not just doing it for the artist, they're doing it for me.
Yeah. I want to talk about one thing real quick before we keep going on with your story, which is amazing so far. But the element of reverse engineering, and that's something we talk about on Hustle Up a lot, is and you know, there's two things that I know that tie in, and it's funny that you're talking about this because it's in that same caliber. But Leonardo, I'm reading the biography of Leonardo da Vinci right now, written by Walter Isaacson, the guy who did Einstein and Steve Jobs' biography, and he talks that when you create your reality and you are building things and bringing things to fruition, you're either creating out of anxiety or you're creating out of curiosity. Damn. And the anxiety one is when you're too attached to your ego. And how could you fully visualize something with every piece all the way to completion and then reverse engineer it if you're too busy focusing on your ego or the anxiety? Nikola Tesla would see something completely finished and would begin doing exactly what you were talking about, finding those bowling pins that'll knock down the other 5 pins. He'd see what he want completely to fruition and then start reverse engineering it in his head step by step. Would not touch a single thing until he has gone all the way to seeing what the finish line looks like and reversed every step back to taking that first step, and then he would start his creation process. Damn. And it's funny how you know, all these cases hundreds of years apart using the same methods are how people see something in their head and bring it from that dimension to the physical dimension, to the physical, and bring it to reality. And
not only that, man, I think a lot of us get in our own way. You know, I think that's a big thing, is we get in our own way and we got to move out of the way. You know?
Absolutely. I heard a Pareto distribution at play here too, the 80-20 rule. 80% of the results are coming from 20% of the source. And you identified that 80% of these club hits are coming from 5 dancers. Coming from this handful of managers. That's right. So even from the reverse engineering aspect, you're starting at this, you know, what's the grand vision, and boiling it down to what's that one pin that's going to knock over the 5 others.
That's right.
And that's just like life too. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it.
Bars. 100%.
Bars. Y'all dropping bars.
Charlie's dropping bars. We're just listening.
So let's keep it going. So you're over here reverse engineering the distribution of Travis Porter.
Absolutely. And it worked.
Yeah.
It worked beautifully. When I got off of me, I got into servitude mode. I got into that loving frequency of I need them to feel loved for them to stick with me. They never left. And then we've got... There was a series of circumstances, and since this is a podcast, I'll go into this story. We've got to stop only looking up for success. Like, we all want a successful mentor who is better than us and who's a millionaire and who has, you know, achieved so much. We're looking up for our direction. When the people in my life who changed my life, they weren't up. They were below or beside me. And I'll tell you this story. So there's this producer in Atlanta who was a part of College Park Music. His name is Mr. Hankey. Great producer. You know Mr. Hankey. Yeah. Great guy. And we would record at a studio. This is during the Travis Porter Waka Flocka Streets RS mixtape. And he said, Charlie, I found this kid. He charges $50 to mix records. I said, $50, that's it? Because we were kind of mixing our own records. Like, we couldn't really afford to mix songs. We're like recording in my mom's basement with like a quilt hanging from the ceiling and like $100 microphone.
On GarageBand, right?
We recorded all the way turned up on GarageBand in my mom's basement.
That blows my mind.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So Mr. Hankey sent me to this kid, and he sent me the address, and he's over in a studio off Ellsworth Industrial over on the west side. And he walks out of the studio. I'm dropping off like $200 with him. He walks out of the studio, and I saw this like aura of pain around him. His head was down. I just felt pain. And it was my first time meeting him. And something told me to just give him $500 instead of $200. And I said, something told me to give you this. And he just kind of like lit up. He said, man, this helps me so much. Like, I'm homeless. I've been sleeping on this couch in this studio. And I said, you know what, man? You need a job? He said, man, you have no idea. I said, Travis Porter needs an engineer. Like we were recording, like our studio had like trash cans. You see that trash can over there? Like we would flip it upside down and put speakers on top of it. Like trash cans were our speaker stands. And I was like, it's time for us to like grow. And I think you're going to be the guy. And he said, I appreciate that. And I'll pick him up every day from his studio and drive him to our studio. And after about 6 months, and he was very quiet, humble guy. After 6 months, he brought this big old 88 keys keyboard to the studio. Now just imagine if your guy right here who edits videos. What's up, brother?
Hey, Ben.
Shout out Ben. Shout
out to
Karma.
Ben. Just imagine if Ben showed up today with a big old 88 keys keyboard. And you look at Ben like, Ben, you're a video editor. What do you got a keyboard for? And then Marcus, he said, well, I make beats. Our knee-jerk reaction is, man, you can't make no beats. You know, like we're like picking on him. You know, like, man, you can't make nothing. He was just like, let me show you what I can make. I'll play you the very first beat he made. This is crazy.
Nice. And I know the whole time you're thinking, like, there's no way you make beats. Because everybody says they make beats in Atlanta, right?
Because we know him.
Right.
Like, we literally know this dude for 6 months. You're an engineer.
Wow.
And I remember what the keyboard looked like. It was silver. It was, what's it, MOAN? What's the keyboard manufacturer name? But this is the first beat
Motif?
he made. I think it was Motif, yep.
How old was he?
He's my age.
Okay.
My age. Homeless dude living in a studio. Gave him a job. First beat he makes.
No way.
Nice.
That's crazy.
Top 10 record in the country.
Let's go.
Hold on.
Oh, man.
Second beat he makes.
No way.
Oh, man.
These are classics.
Top 10 record in the country. Then he made a beat. So that song was called Bring It Back.
Yeah,
Then he made a beat called Bring It Back times 1,000. That was the actual name of the beat. And this is it right here.
He knew he was on this one. Yes. Yes.
Okay, now, ladies.
And those were his first three that you saw from him.
You're on a roll on that point.
Number 2 song in the country.
That's insane.
Now, stop looking up for success. There's genius all around us. It's the rich guys always get replaced by some hungry, poor guy
The hunger.
or girl.
That's even what lets startups have an advantage against corporations.
Exactly. Now, the story gets even better. So, little old Marcus is now one of the biggest producers in the game. He goes on, does his thing. Super happy for him. And he goes on to discover, I'm going to play you somebody he discovered, signed You ever heard of this artist?
Yeah.
What?
Who is that?
Post Malone.
Absolutely.
that's
He
Posty.
signed, discovered Post Malone, who is maybe the second or third biggest artist of our time right now. There's
Absolutely.
Drake, Travis Scott, Post Malone.
Yeah.
I would say probably in that order. Post Malone, I don't know. Who's bigger, Travis Scott or Post Malone?
Post Malone.
I don't know. Travis Scott pulled off Astro World numerous times, different cities, different tours.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. He's huge.
Does
It's a
Travis
close
Scott play on
second.
top 20
I
though
just
on
feel
pop?
like I
Oh,
feel
yeah,
like
Travis
Post
Scott
Malone.
is-
has
That's a
the
good
bigger-
point.
Travis
Yeah.
Scott won Album of the Year. Like Travis Scott was big. But Post Malone, I mean, what he's done is unheard of.
I feel like he reaches more of the masses.
Yeah,
Post Malone.
And that's someone else. White Iverson was his first song
absolutely.
that he put out, and it went viral. And
Thanks
next
to
thing you-
Marcus.
Really?
The
Yeah.
guy sleeping on the couch.
Did Marcus make that beat too?
No, he didn't make
I
that
was
beat.
about to say Marcus killing him.
Yeah.
So Marcus is an inspiration to me. His name is Good Job First. That's his producer name. You've probably heard a million of his songs. And he's also signed to Diplo as an artist. He's really dope.
Shout out Diplo.
So
Yeah,
so just
shout
the moral of the story is, like, we got to be humble,
Absolutely.
like with ourselves,
I
but
love that,
also
man.
who we're around.
Are you familiar with the rule of 33?
No, I'm not.
So I have this written down too.
Yeah, so the rule of 33 is that it's for 33%, and you should always have 3 types of people in your life: people you learn from, people you talk to, and people you teach. And for me personally, I like to have like my whole network divided pretty equally in those
Bingo.
3. Exactly, so I can make sure I'm learning, I'm talking, and teaching all like succinctly. And so
That's
to make
beautiful.
and so that's it really is like you shouldn't just look up, because you're going to be missing so many opportunities. And then that even breaks down into, you know, this person may be up in one capacity but down in another.
There's always
Right.
something to learn from somebody in one area and teach somebody in
Absolutely.
another area. And the other quote that was coming up for me was the Zig Ziglar quote: "You can achieve anything you want in life if you can just help enough other people get what they want." I heard
Yeah.
that coming up over and
That's
over
one
and
of the
over
best
again in your
quotes
story.
ever. Not only that, it goes back to what you were talking about originally of being grounded. You know what I mean? And walking with your barefoot. And that's what they said about like Moses and all of them, is they were grounded. They walk with their feet and a staff to center their energy into the ground.
Wow.
So
That's what I've heard. I know people, you know, everyone does their morning ritual. I have a friend who's part of his morning ritual, wakes up, affirmations, meditation, and then he goes outside and for 10 minutes just stands barefoot on the grass
Yeah, man.
to bring
Must
in
start
that
doing
energy
that.
and conduct it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. If we're talking about, a lot of people who are listening to this, they're thinking about business, right? They're thinking
Absolutely.
about business, and we're in Atlanta. Atlanta is the culture manufacturer.
oh yeah.
Our greatest export in this country, America, is culture.
Yeah.
That is our export. And who is the pen that manufactures the culture of this entire country? This city.
Atlanta influences everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
So there's a lot we can learn from Atlanta and culture for our businesses and what we need to study. Yes, read your Tony Robbins book, Gary Vaynerchuk book, and Zig Ziglar book. Read that. But also be paying attention to what Atlanta is doing on the street level. And I always saw something that I'm just now learning how to put into words. And I've developed a theory of it called the little brother theory. And this is the cultural shifts and be able to predict what's going to happen next with culture. And I'm going to use it with fashion and music to start off, but it's the same thing in technology. It's the same thing in just about every area of commerce. It's called the little brother theory. Does anybody in this room have an older brother? Okay. I'm going to use my man right here. There was a point in time where you looked up to your older brother and you wanted to be just like him. And so everything he did, you did. And then you got to a certain age and you wanted your own identity. And you were like, I'm going to go the exact opposite way.
Mm-hmm.
This is why fashion changes. This is why music changes. This is why the older brother always says to the younger brother, man, that hip hop you listen to is trash.
Yeah.
That's why when Lil Yachty comes around, or when Soulja Boy comes around, or when 21 Savage comes around, or when Lil Uzi comes around, the slightly older generation is like, that's trash, that mumble rap. The little brother's like, nah, this gives me my identity.
Yeah.
That's why I like it, because now I'm me. And the fact you don't like it is exactly why I like it.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to always make our rules in our minds shiftable. We have to understand this theory so we're never caught up in what we know. Like you look at a Tekashi 6ix9ine, he has rainbow hair. We look at a Young Thug who calls men bae. We got to always rewrite our rules. We have to add that if-then programming into our computer, that it always changes. And we understand that the little brothers are going to like the opposite of what we like. And we have to add that into our business models. So we no longer try to make our business as a reflection of us, because we're going to be wrong and we're going to be replaced.
Yeah.
Okay?
I agree. Yeah. Innovate to what's coming, not what has been.
And it's usually the opposite. That's why pant sizes go from really baggy to really tight. Guess what's happening right now?
The pendulum shifts.
Yeah.
Really baggy is back, like what I'm wearing right now.
Jinko's coming back in? Is
Oh.
that what you're telling me?
So Jabos are back. No, like for real. Like I just got a pair. Like thrift
Oh,
store.
wow.
Everything I'm wearing right now is thrift store. Why? Because I understand the little brother theory. I'm watching
Right.
the kids. I don't think I know anything.
Right.
I'm interviewing the children, saying, what's dope? Oh, well, we like thrift stores. Like we like the baggier pants from the 90s. We like the 2X shirt. Even though I could wear a size medium, I like the 2X shirt. And so I found this kid at a Zoomies who was the manager, and I looked at his fashion. I was like, tell me about your fashion. He's like, yeah, man, like I like saving the earth. Like I won't buy new clothes.
Nice.
Everything I buy is from a thrift store.
That's
and
what I'm talking about.
And this is how we dress. So everything I'm wearing right now is from a thrift store. And it like stands for something. But it's that trend. It's the little brother trend. So now that I've planted this seed with y'all, you're going to see the kids now, they're going to be wearing baggy pants, oversized shirts, and they're going to wear like some vintage frame like glasses. They're going to look a little nerdy, but that's the swag.
So no more skinny jeans.
Skinny jeans are done. Yeah, man.
Genka. What were those ones back in the day that had Jinkos?
Jinkos. Yeah, man.
Yeah, those were cool.
Oh yeah, I remember the first time I ever wore Jinkos to school, man. I was like one of the first, because I was like, oh, that's cool, I'm jumping on this. I wore them. I got made fun of. Everybody in the school made fun of me, man. I remember this one kid pushed me into a locker and knocked me over, and I felt so defeated when I got home. And I didn't wear them for a while, and then one day I was like, you know what, I don't care what other people think. I'm wearing my Jinkos.
That's
They're
right.
comfortable.
That's right.
That's what started it.
You got the one with the dragons on them, the big dragon.
Nah,
Oh,
mine was just big. I didn't get all that.
That's
That's
cool.
Yeah, you got to innovate to where they're coming. And then I just read a book too called "Hard Times Create Strong Men," and that's what they talk about. Is there's kind of iterations of society that just repeat itself 80 years, and that's why the whole socioeconomic and political landscape changes every 80 years of who you want in office and what you want to accomplish as a nation. It always is ever changing, because the kids growing up don't want to be living in the same circumstance that they perceive the elders grew up in.
Yep.
Since World War II, I also read the book. We were going through it. He recommended it. And since World War II, America's largest export, like you said, has been culture.
Yeah.
We've been pushing culture out from Hollywood, from Atlanta, from New York, all across the world, to the point where America influences the rest of the world through what we listen to, what we watch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Big
not to
time.
mention that Atlanta is the #1 movie city in the world.
Yeah. We on the come up.
That's right.
We're here, yeah.
All right, so if we're going to hop back into the story,
Yeah.
Travis Porter, "Hey Ladies," #2 song in the country. I'm on top of the world. I'm still passing out CDs. And I remember we were at this video shoot. It was over on Buford Highway, psych wall background, and Lil Wayne was supposed to be there. And I look over to my right, and the atmosphere in the room changed when this one guy walks in. And like, that's a powerful thing. Like when a human being can walk in a room and the energy be so strong that the atmosphere changes. And that guy was named Titty Boy. And for anybody listening, if you don't know who Titty Boy is or what Titty Boy means, So Titty Boy is an artist who was signed to Ludacris for 10 years. And you might be wondering why his name was Titty Boy. Well, Titty Boy's family is from LaGrange, Georgia. Same place my family is from. And LaGrange, Georgia, that's the country. The country. And in the country, if you're a mama's boy, they call you a titty boy. And 2 Chainz, before his name was 2 Chainz, it was Titty Boy. And he's a real mama's boy. And I just knew that is what a real superstar looks like. And my business partner, Tech, had a relationship with him because my business partner, he was a DJ before he was a big music mogul. And DJ Techniques, the mixtape mastermind. And I went to him and I was like, man, like, we need to build out our management company. And I was 100% owner of the management company at the time. I was the manager, and Tech and Al, they were Travis Porter's road manager and DJ. But I believed in them so much that I was like, guys, like, I'll go to 33%. That's how much I believe in this. Like, having business partners is scary, but I was ready to grow so bad. I was ready to go to that next level so bad, and I knew we couldn't just do it with one artist. And so I went from 100% to 33%, brought on my 2 business partners, and our first target was Titty Boy. We wanted to manage him, but he didn't want us to manage him. He looked at us as like some kind of like kids. Like, I was 20 years old. He looked at my business partner, Tech, as like a DJ. Like, why would I have a DJ manage me? And he looked at my other business partner, Al, like he was just some like street dude from Savannah, Georgia. Who he wanted to have manage him was this successful industry manager by the name of Rico Brooks. You know Rico. Block Entertainment, Young Jock, Gorilla Zoe. Now he manages Metro Boomin and Sunny Digital. Big industry manager. And so he would put us all in a room together. And when the conversation to passing out CDs came around, it always came to us. But I was like, no, man, like, we can't go out like this. I asked 2 Chainz if we could take him out to lunch, just us. And we presented a 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day game plan. Said, we're going to make you a superstar. We'd go back into the meetings with Rico Brooks, and we would have so much to show him. Okay, these are the shows we set up. This is the promo. These are the websites. We got you on the blogs, the boom. This is how many CDs we passed out. We were even investing our own money in it. That Rico Brooks stopped showing up to the meetings because it was just clear. Like, these guys they're the managers. They're doing what managers do. We had everything set up, and the rest was history.
So that was the paradigm shift right there.
That was it. And I remember the night that 2 Chainz really, I felt a connection. We were at Figure 8 nightclub on the west side of Atlanta. It's a very dangerous nightclub. We got 2 Chainz' little show there, and it's raining and it's cold. And he walks out of the club, and he sees me in my button down, my tie, and my slacks. CEO Charlie. And I'm chasing somebody down to hand him a CD. And he's walking out of the club, and he sees it. And I connect with him, made eye contact. And I could tell in that moment, he felt what it was like to have somebody actually care about him. Because he had been always overlooked. I mean, to have a record deal for 10 years and to be overlooked.
I bet.
Yeah.
To walk outside of a club and see somebody who wants to manage you, chase somebody down in the cold rain to hand them a CD. We took 2 Chainz from $1,500 a show to $150,000 a show. And we worked it all the way up to where we won a Grammy, which is the Super Bowl of music. And, you know, this is a few years ago where, like, hip-hop wasn't even, like, really allowed in the Grammys like that. But I remember the night of the Grammys. It wasn't always rainbows and butterflies. Like, at the time, through this process of chasing my dream of being an entrepreneur, after I had buried my dream when I was young of what I really wanted to do was to be an athlete, I had become over 300 pounds. And then I got diagnosed with a brain tumor. And even though I had all this money, had all this success, here we are the night of the Grammys, and I didn't even go because I'm looking at my life as if it's about to end. It's like none of this means anything to me. I've done it all and I'm unfulfilled. Because when you're facing death, you don't think about the things you've done.
Right.
You think about all the things you wish you had done.
Right.
Those truest dreams that are inside of us. And when you're broken, all you have left is your truth. And when I was broken, I was pushed all the way down to rock bottom. But rock bottom takes you to the roots.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my tree isn't producing any fruit, obviously. Because money, it's not that important. It is. But when you get to the end of your life, you don't care about it.
Right.
So I'm pushed down to my roots. But the beautiful thing about rock bottom is you'll be able to see why your tree is not producing fruit.
The clarity.
Absolutely. And I determined that I had to go back to my 8-year-old self, completely course correct. And I had to go back at all costs and start my life over and chase that dream that I never chased. I'm gonna be an athlete. And I don't care if anybody understands. That dream was given to me for a reason. And if I ignore it, I'm doing a disservice to whoever gave me that dream. I went to my artists. I went to 2 Chainz. I went to Travis Porter. I went to my business partners. And I told them, I'm going to retire. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to be an athlete. You're going to be a what? I said, I'm going to be an athlete. Like, this is 300-pound brain tumor Charlie. Like, nah, I'm going to do this. I got to save my life. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with music. I'm going to dress up. I'm going to give myself a name, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do an Ironman in New Zealand. I picked the date, 10 months out. And they said, okay. Like, we're worried about you. We know you're sick. You sound a little crazy, but we give you our wishes. You go chase that dream. And I started healing myself. I went vegan. I moved to California. I started reversing my brain tumor. But my brain tumor started shrinking. I lost 130 pounds. And I did that Ironman in New Zealand. For those who don't know, an Ironman is a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and a 26.2-mile run, a full marathon. It took me 16 hours and 41 minutes. I didn't know if I'd be able to do it. Wow. But I crossed that finish line.
I saw there was points where you almost got disqualified, too, and you just had to keep pushing yourself. That was very inspirational.
I did, man. It was 20-mile-an-hour headwinds in New Zealand to where we're on the bike and we don't even feel like we're moving.
Right.
Like, a 20-mile-an-hour headwind is tough, especially after you've been on the bike 9 hours already. It was crazy. But there was something I kind of figured out, and I told you this yesterday. For some reason, the body knows how to figure out how to get something done once the mind says it's time. I don't know how. Was I supposed to be able to do an Ironman? I wasn't that physically fit. Like, I trained for 10 months. I lost all this weight. But my body figured out how to do that Ironman. 16 hours, 41 minutes. I was doing more exercise for a longer period of time than the flight to New Zealand.
Wow.
It's crazy. 14-hour
That
flight.
really puts in perspective. That's insane.
Yeah, man. And then I remember I was sitting on the couch. And I was starting to get very electric around this time. I started believing in myself so much more, and my frequency changed. Everything I consumed in my life changed. I was healing. I was tapped into like a more like loving frequency. I was out of the hip-hop industry where we're at war.
Yeah.
I got out of the fight or flight frequency, and I got more into the love frequency.
Nice.
And I started gaining these, like, which at the time I would have never told anybody, but I started gaining these like kind of superpowers. And all this crazy stuff was happening every day to where, have you guys ever like thought of somebody and then they text you a couple minutes later?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this was happening like 5 times in a day.
Yeah.
Like, I remember this one scenario that really tripped me out. I'm for some reason this old friend of mine, her name was Sansaray, hadn't talked to her in 12 years. She popped up in my mind out of nowhere. She's an old friend from Atlanta. And I go on Instagram searching for her, but I don't know how to spell her name. I can't remember. It's a very difficult name to spell. Sansaray. How do Soncereare? I don't know. So I searched. I went on like 5-6 different people's profiles, and I gave up. The next day, I wake up in the morning, and I have a DM from Sansaray.
Wow.
And my response was, get the fuck out of here. Look at this screenshot. And I sent the screenshot of my Instagram search history. And I said, I was trying to find you yesterday. And she said, for real? She said, yeah, something told me to just hit you up. And then I said, that's crazy. She said, where do you live? I said, I live in LA. She says, me too. Like, it's crazy, like the synchronicities, but this is this is the type of stuff that made me like just start like believing like that I'm connected to everything.
Affirmations.
And the law of attraction.
Yeah. You know what? And that's something that's crazy because I've noticed that too is I guess the more in tune I am, the more detached from my ego and in that flow state in the moment and connected with the higher power I am, the more things like that seem to synchronize like consistently time and time again. And it's weird. It's almost kind of like if you don't go to the gym a lot and then you start going to the gym heavy week after week and then there's a fuzz that almost seems to disappear and you get more clarity and you get a whole different energy that you didn't have before when you start eating right and really working out. Yeah. That's what it is, but on a much more like a larger scale.
And that's what I wanted to ask you about too is what are the great benefits that you've seen from being vegan?
High frequency.
Frequency.
So we all know the term. You are what you
eat. Yeah. Input equals output, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
So I started looking at food differently. Like we could like eat an energy bar, but if you were to put like a instrument that reads the energy coming off of food, like to see the radiation and the frequency, an energy bar is about as dead as food could be. It could sit on the shelf for about 4 years.
Yeah.
Is that dead or alive?
Dead.
4 years. And it like still like be fine. Like that's dead. That's not energy.
Right.
You put an instrument on an orange. That thing's glowing.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about off the meter. It'll look like a psychedelic like color like spectrum coming off of it. 'Cause it's alive. So I asked myself, okay, I've got a brain tumor. Why do I have a brain tumor? What have I been eating my whole life that is causing this imbalance in my body? And then I looked at it. Everything I've ate my whole life has been revolving around this term diet, D-I-E. And food is bad. And then I'm eating packaged food and unhealthy food and processed food. I'm like, I haven't eaten anything living in years. Like I was told like fruit was bad.
Yeah.
Do the keto diet. Fruit's bad for you.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty sure nobody ever got fat from eating fruit.
Oh, yeah. And then people say soy's bad for you. And if you eat a lot of soy, you're going to get man boobs.
That's right.
It's just all these things out there.
So I just made it real simple. I said, is what I'm eating dead or alive? And I changed it to a high-frequency diet, which turns out to be a very alkaline diet. And where does disease come from? Inflammation. Mm-hmm. What causes inflammation? Acid. Yeah. Fruits and vegetables are alkaline. It's the anti-inflammatory foods of the world.
Help your free radicals.
Absolutely. And I was like, this makes sense to me. And when I started consuming high-frequency foods, guess what I became? High frequency. Yeah. When I started deleting Instagram and social media, and I cut off my cable subscription, stopped watching, CNN, which was very addicting around the time Donald Trump was running for president. I got rid of it.
Yeah.
It was so dark that it inspired me to actually get rid of television. So now I'm not consuming low frequency information.
Yeah.
Now I'm not consuming low frequency information.
Right.
I'm not consuming low frequency food. Everything I'm consuming is high frequency. Have you ever heard somebody say, man, you're just glowing? Yeah. I mean, look at me right now. Do I look like I'm glowing?
Yeah.
Like literally, right?
Yeah.
Like there's an aura around
Absolutely.
me. Everything I do is high frequency.
Yeah.
I'm tuning to it every day. And it's like that frequency. We tune it with our heart. We tune it with what we consume. We decide what we're going to want. So like these social media, since I'm on it real quick, a low frequency human being is very high profit for the algorithms that are designed for these corporations. They have algorithms in order to give us what we like, so we stay on the platform longer. But human nature is human nature. You give a kid candy, is kid gonna be mad at you? Mm-mm. Everybody likes candy, right? So they know to feed us candy.
Right.
Okay. Candy tastes good. Candy gives us that little stimulus, that little dopamine shot.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's colorful.
But it's short-lived.
It's short-lived. So we want more candy. And then how the algorithm works is once you like something, it builds this entire world around you based upon what you like, but it knew to give us candy. So now it's building this whole world of candy around us. So then we eat the candy and we like the candy. Then we're addicted to the candy. And then what happens when you eat too much candy?
You wish you didn't eat that much candy.
You get sick.
Yeah.
And when you get sick, guess what makes you feel better? More candy. Now you need the candy because you're so sluggish that you need the dopamine shot. High frequency individuals aren't on their phones. High frequency individuals are people like Martin Luther King, and they go cause problems in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
They go disrupt the establishment.
Would you say though that, because I kind of feel I agree, but then I'm also kind of curious at some points. So for example, yeah, social media is built that way, but and we've talked about this on the podcast before, that social media, money, the internet as a whole, they're tools. Then they're like resources just like anything else. And it's about who's using them and what are you using them for.
Bingo.
So
Cleaning up your feed and following hashtags instead of models.
hashtag law of attraction, hashtag entrepreneurship.
Motivate, hustle.
That's
Yeah.
genius. Like I had to unfollow everybody.
Yeah.
I'm working every day to learn how to use social media more responsibly. It's my vice. I when I like something, I overdo it. Some people, they're in control of themselves, but I guarantee if we went around and looked at people's like cell phone usage, battery, like no, we got problems.
What's the input output thing, right? So I'm sure you've heard you're the average of your 5 closest relationships. But let's build that out. What about your 10 closest relationships? What about your 5 largest inputs, 10 largest inputs? And so if you've unfollowed everybody, right? When you start adding people back, you're looking at what kind of input is this? What kind of message am I receiving from the information that I'm taking in? Whether it's on social or
I'll
whether
tell you
it's
this.
the news.
How I'm going to do it is totally different. I'm going to follow one person a day. And I'm going to turn my social media platform into a love factory. Too much of social media is about us.
Right.
I'm going to do this thing called hashtag one love, one follow. I'm going to start this thing called the Army of Love, where I'm going to mobilize people every day. I'm going to find somebody, she just got diagnosed with leukemia. One love, one follow. She's the only person I follow today. And I'm going to mobilize my entire audience to go give that lady love. And she's going to wake up to tens of thousands of messages, giving her encouragement and love.
That's awesome.
We're not doing that with social media. Everything's about us.
Right. It's
Look at me.
Yeah.
There's 3 billion Truman shows.
Yeah.
I'm sick of all of it.
Me too.
We've got to learn to give love a little bit more. We got to learn how to stop consuming so much and start giving.
Yeah.
And social media, how long does it take to upload a video?
Seconds.
Seconds. So why are we spending hours? And then they say, oh, respond to every comment. Well, guess what people are responding with? Emojis and like thanks. That's not a response.
Right.
That's not a response. That's an emoji. Like 100, like hand clap, praise hands. That's not a response. That's not connection. Like in the history of human time, we have reached the dead end of communication. And I'll break it down to you like this. We used to sit around campfires and tell stories. That was our communication. Very long form. That goes on for a while. Then we get paper, and then we start writing things down. It gets a little bit shorter, than long stories. And then you introduce this thing called a computer, okay? Like fast forward, thousands of years, we have this computer, and we invent this thing called an email. A little bit shorter communication.
Right.
Then you get the cell phone. Cell phone, you introduce text messaging. Even shorter communication, where now we're not even using full words. BRB, LOL, LMOA.
Yeah.
Okay? Even shorter words. Then you introduce the emoji. Now we're communicating with people without even words. So there's less connection. And then it reaches the very dead end of the line to where it can't get any less, to where now we're not even responding with emojis. I don't even know how I feel when I'm DMing somebody and they don't respond. They just double tap heart. Like, I don't even get a response. I just get a double tap heart. Like, are you trying me? Did you not like what I said? Like, is that the end of the conversation? It's not even a response.
Yeah.
Just lets you know, hey, I for sure saw that.
Yeah.
Disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for things to start going back the other way. So they're like, Charlie, you need to respond to all your comments. I'm not going to waste my time in the shallow end of the pool.
Let's make a change.
Let's actually say something.
Yeah.
I'd rather spend all those 4 hours of responding with emojis. Let me just go say something real. Let me go write a book.
So if the pendulum always shifts and you see things on one far side now, shortened communication, emojis, lack of commenting, where do you see it shifting back to?
There's a uprising, and it's starting with people that look like us, talk like us, and where we're from. We started off this podcast talking about energy. None of us look like hippies. None of us are in California. None of us are doing this right now. We might do that, but that's not how we look. Science is finally confirming what all the ancient mysticisms have been saying and the religions have been saying for years. I study quantum physics. That's my quantum possibilities notebook. At the beginning of this podcast, when I said, I wrote down in that notebook, I'm going to be in a commercial with LeBron James and Serena Williams, and I knew I was connected to Nike, and then I go on to win an Emmy for best commercial that I'm in that was named after me with LeBron James and Serena Williams and Colin Kaepernick. So the uprising is that the common man, not the weirdo hippies, are able to have conversations in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
And we know how to make it cool. We understand culture. God put me in hip hop so I could learn how to make things cool. So when I come over here to the helping people space, I know how to make it turn into a movement, and I can make it go global. The next wave is the deep end of the pool, but it's coming from the cool kids. It's not coming from the weirdo woo-woo mystics. It looks like
dope.
this.
That's crazy, because I've been saying for like at least a few months now that Atlanta is in a renaissance period right now, and we're really at the intersection of culture, spirituality, and business. Like everything that Silicon Valley brings in people from the Eastern Hemisphere to accomplish, and we innately have here. We already influence all the culture around the world, and corporations keep moving their headquarters back to Atlanta if they take them, and they keep moving things over here. As long as, the government things work out, corporations influencing culture and just that spirituality of being in tune and being, like you were saying, those tastemakers of making these kind of topics a conversation cool and something that can resonate with, the common person who may not have been exposed to this kind of language yet.
Well, love
That's
it or
right.
hate it, we're at a spot where we are the intersection of understanding the face-to-face as well as the cell phone, the
That's right.
technology, the computer, the social media, all of it.
You know what I'm going to do in December?
What are you
Let's hear
doing?
I'm going to do this thing called Dumb Phone December. Every time I delete social media off my phone, I become very intentional with how I use it. It then turns into, okay, I need to post a video. I'm spending 4 seconds, not 4 hours. So I'm going to get a dumb phone for the entire month of December.
One of those flip phones?
Yep.
Nice.
The opposite of a smartphone. and watch what happens to my imagination, my creativity, my connectivity. When we're going to be connected to something.
Right.
Like, we're humans. We want connection. That's what we naturally want. If we can't be connected to this useless two-dimensional information, this two-dimensional thing, like the screen, the information that's on it, it's 2D. That's what's controlling our life.
Right.
When we're multi-dimensional beings?
That in video games?
Come on, man. Why are we letting the two-dimension be our addiction? I tap into a different Instagram when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
I wake up, first thing I say, I'm the luckiest man alive. I keep this, let me see if I have it here. I keep this on me because I know I'm a creator. I know the law of attraction is always working.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like gravity, doesn't decide when it wants to work. Quantum physics doesn't decide when it wants to work.
What was the first thing that got you into that? Was it like The Secret, or were you even before that?
Man, I got blessed. So when I was training for the Ironman, I'm in this salad restaurant in LA called Sweet Green. And I'm telling my friend about my philosophy of how I'm going to train for it. And I kept saying the word easy. Oh, it's going to be easy. Oh, like, I wake up and it's easy. Like my body figures out how to do it. It's going to be easy. It's already done. I'm already an Iron Man. Because I said I'm already an Iron Man. I don't have to do an Iron Man to be an Iron Man. And this Morpheus style character who's in the salad restaurant, he walks up to me. He had a trench coat on, big black man, deep voice. He walks up to me and he says these words. He said, "Charlie, you're very quantum." I said, "I'm what?" He said, "You're very quantum." I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Let me guess. There's a lot of things going on in your life you're probably afraid to tell your friends." I said, "How do you know?" He said, "I could tell by the way you talk. You're able to attract a lot of things. I could see the vibration. I could hear how you talk. I could see your mindset." I said, "Man, I've been afraid to tell everybody about all this crazy stuff. I don't want them to think I'm crazy, but I feel like I have superpowers."
Yeah.
He said, "Let me teach you what you're doing. It's quantum physics. Quantum physics explains the law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Atomic particles are not pieces of matter. They're waves. And when you tune to a frequency, you're able to get things. You're able to get information. I'll break it down like this. Let's take a radio. Old school radio is called a receiver. Actually, our phones, the technical term for this phone is a receiver, okay? But we're going to use radio right now because we could picture the dial changing, okay? You could be on a frequency and hear nothing but you turn one notch. You could be 107.7, you hear nothing. You go one notch to the right and you turn to 107.9, and all of a sudden you could hear notes perfectly aligned. But these notes, where are they coming from? They're flying through the air. Well, how can something fly through the air and then this little box not miss a note? It's not a little band in there playing stuff. It's like literally hocus pocus information. Like, this is hocus pocus. So you're telling me a song with notes is flying past our face right now, and this little box can play every one of them.
Right.
That's crazy. How can information fly through the air? It still blows my mind.
I'm thinking about all the text messages flying across my face right now, or all the Facebook posts and everything. Like, all information being uploaded is just around us. That's insane.
That's another thing Nikolai Tesla used to talk about,
Right,
is
yeah.
tapping into consciousness and being able to pull it out of the air.
Yes.
And that's what he really understood, and that's why he was able to get so far in his life and invent so many things.
So if waves can hold songs, if waves can hold conversations and text messages and internet and television, waves are everything.
Yeah.
Atomic particles, this table is vibrating right now. Only 0.00001% of it is matter. The atomic particles that make up this table. So just imagine what we're made of. We're alive. Like, this is dead and it's vibrating.
Yeah.
Just imagine us. He said, this is how quantum physics works. He told me about the double slit test. Are y'all familiar with this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You shoot an atomic particle at a wall that has 2 windows in it. Windows are open. Atomic particle goes through both windows. How's that possible? That's crazy. It's like if I told you this ladybug, I shoot it at that wall and it goes through that door and that door at the same time. How did this ladybug go through both? That sounds like magic. That sounds like somebody on stage at a Las Vegas show. Yeah, like where's the smoke and mirrors? Like this is an illusion.
Yeah.
Well, as they go deeper into the study, they say, okay, let's put a camera and let's just study that door. Shoot this ladybug at both, and it only goes through the door where the camera is. Okay, let's move the camera to that door. Shoot this at the wall, and it only goes through that door. This is the law of attraction. Atomic particles act as fuzzy waves of possibilities. This ladybug can be in a million different places. But when we look somewhere, that's where it goes. When we close our eyes, it acts like a wave, and it goes through all the possibilities. It goes through both doors. When we look, it turns into one possibility. That's the law of attraction. Where you look is where the quantum particles collapse. Sounds like mysticism. This is science.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. Like it's science, and it's I don't even know what to really say, because it's so it can't be proven, because just by the power of observation, you're changing how it existed. You're literally crashing a wave, which, think of a water wave, into a particle, which is more like a bowling ball rolling down an alley. And just by your power of observation, you can create with that. And like to what you were saying, that is why Tesla and Leonardo da Vinci and all these other great creators of our history would fully see something in their head before they create it, is because they're taking these wavelengths, all this different information floating around, and they're condensing it into one solid vision that goes from here out to here.
One singular linear path.
Exactly.
And not only that, we all have auras around us and energy frequency around us all the time. So do you believe in parallel universes?
I don't know much about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a real thing.
Well, I heard on Joe Rogan that essentially it could be the same thing as we're having the same exact conversation billions, not trillions of times. The only thing different is, your jacket's red instead of blue.
Like the OA TV show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that. That was cool.
Yeah, no, kind of like that.
So let me provide a couple of examples of how I applied this and how crazy it can get. And this is nothing that's unique to me. This is for the listener as well.
Let's go.
So I'm in LA, and I had this dream that I'm going to be a Nike athlete. And now that I'm feeling like I have superpowers, I believed it. And I said to myself, it's going to be easy. It's already done. Time hasn't caught up yet. But I needed a cameraman. And in LA, cameramen are a little bit different than in Atlanta. Atlanta people, they're pretty much good at everything. They're very resourceful, and they figure it out. LA is more like union.
Yeah.
Cameramen are just cameramen. They don't edit. I had never heard of that. I thought all cameramen edited. No, they just shoot. Editors edit. And then the person who does the scoring is a specialist and just does scoring. And the person who does the color correction on DaVinci just does the color correction on DaVinci. And then the person who makes the music, they go hire that out. So I'm telling my friends in Hollywood, I need a cameraman. I'm going to make a fan-made Nike commercial. They're like, Charlie, like, what you want to do is going to cost you $60,000 in this city. I said, no, it's not. I could find somebody who does this. It's LA. They're like, no, Charlie, like, you're being unrealistic. And that's the one thing that pisses me off when somebody tells me to be realistic. I'm like, no, nothing I've done in my life has been realistic. And I'm starting to get upset. And I remember I went out to this vegan restaurant with this one TV producer. He pissed me off so bad, and I got so fired up, and I said, watch. Tomorrow, I'm going to find my cameraman who's going to do this because I know it's possible. I'm going to dedicate my whole day to it. And I was fired up, and I used my anger to tune to the radio station of the song I wanted to receive. I actually found the station of what it felt like because I wanted to prove this person so wrong. So I started using the words of what I said, watch. Tomorrow, I'm going to find him. Wake up the next morning, sitting on my couch. I write in my notebook this sentence, verbatim. Today is the day I searched and found. Very important. Words are powerful. Words are spells.
Mm-hmm.
Today is the day I search and found my videographer / editor. It's done! ! It's easy! !
Wow.
An hour later, my roommate walks in the front door. We're living in Santa Monica. My roommate is the most boring human being on the history of the earth. He's an accountant for Whole Foods. Behind him walks in a cameraman filming him. Morgan, why do you have a cameraman behind you? He said, I got a random phone call from my friend Manny, who has like this little Airbnb business, and he sent this guy over because he wanted to film at the house. He needed to film something for a commercial.
Wow.
And I look at this cameraman, and he didn't look like he looked like an airhead. He was a Northern California skateboarding, gothic, long hair, bro looking dude who talked like an airhead. And I'm like, you do videos? He's like, yeah, I do videos. I'm like, can I see some of your work? He said, yeah, like I got some of my old stuff on my website. Like, I don't really like make money doing this. I just kind of, do this just like when people call me. I say, you own that camera? He said, yeah, like I have some equipment. So I pull up his website. And he had some music videos on there, but I needed somebody who could tell stories. So music videos I wasn't interested in. But he just happened to have this short film. I was like, pulled it up on the computer. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is really good. You shot this? He said, yeah, I shot it. Like, I own like an anamorphic lens. Like, and I have like this like steady cam. And I have like, I'm like, you own all that equipment? And he's like, yeah, I just kind of hoard equipment for some reason. And I said, who edited this? He said, well, I edit too. And I'm like, really? And I'm listening because in short films, like the scoring is very, very important.
Yeah.
Like, I said, the scoring is amazing. Who did the scoring? And who did this music? This music is amazing. Is this original? He said, well, I'm in a rock band. I've been in a rock band for 15 years, and I used to be on the Warped Tour. I'm like, who did the color grading on this? This color grading is so rich. He said, well, I taught myself Da Vinci. I said, do you have a job? He said, no, man, like, I tried to work at Hulu, but they wouldn't accept me. And I said, man, I'll give you a job. Like, everything I was looking for was right there. Everything that everybody told me was not possible walked in my front door. He walked in my front door.
Superpowers.
Yeah.
I tuned my frequency and my radio was able to receive the song.
Yes.
We sat down at a little vegan burger restaurant and I told him, I said, I'm going to be a Nike athlete. He said, how you going to do that? I said, I believe in the law of attraction. And I'm going to dress up as a Nike athlete and I'm going to put it into everybody's hearts. Because if I can get their hearts to send out the signal, I don't care if 100 people see it. That's 100 more law of attractions if they feel it. Those little antennas. This is how I believe it's going to be possible. I'm going to call myself Charlie Rocket. Just like I did back in the day with CEO Charlie. I dressed up as it. What do Nike athletes have? Nike athletes have Nike clothes and Nike commercials. So I'm going to be it. If I want to attract it, I'm going to tune to the station so that I could receive the song.
That's amazing. Well, let me ask you, I got a question real quick. So let's say I'm like, okay, this is all new language to me. And I'm like, I want to tune to the frequency of whatever goal. How do I go about tuning that frequency? What's the how-to? What are the pragmatic steps where I can shift it to start getting a signal as opposed to getting that static?
Okay. There's a wizard that I know. His name is JB. and he taught me this. It's called futuring. You can feel something that's not real. We do it all the time. I could have you close your eyes and you can imagine a lemon and slicing that lemon and putting that lemon in your mouth, and your mouth will start watering as if you had a lemon. Or you might have a confrontation with your boss or a business partner, and you're feeling what the conversation is going to be like hours before you even have the conversation. Y'all had a confrontation, and then y'all have a meeting about it, and you're feeling all this like energy in you. You're in the future now. You can be in the future now just off of thoughts. Complete this sentence for me. Follow your
Heart.
Okay. Come up with another word. Follow your
Mind.
Dreams.
dreams. Follow your.
Mind.
That sounds weird.
Nah.
Follow your mind.
Follow your
I
mind.
actually never heard anybody say that.
Yeah.
It feels kind of weird. So everybody say that. Follow your.
Follow your mind.
It doesn't even sound right. It doesn't even have a ring to
Yeah.
it.
Right.
We always say follow your heart, and when we point to ourselves, we don't do this.
Right.
How weird is that? Like, point to yourself. Identify yourself. Like, no, we do
Yeah.
this. We always point here. We also hear follow your gut.
Good.
Mhm.
It's always in this region. And when we tune this, our minds are master tricksters. Very powerful tool. But it can also play tricks on us. Our hearts, it don't play tricks.
Right.
There's information that's given to us all the time. There's dreams that are given to us all the time. This is usually what happens. You think about a dream, something you want to do in your life. Your eyes move up. You like think about it in this imagination, right? And then our minds kick in and start saying, Charlie, it's time to be a little bit more realistic. How you going to do that? You're not good enough for that. How you going to pay for it? How's it going to happen? Da-da. And our minds literally talk us out of our dreams. It shuts our heart down, and our hearts get tired of losing that battle. Our hearts love when it gets the stage and it can speak, but then our mind is always like, nope. Reason and logic is our operating system, and all that dream stuff, that's not reason or logic. That is unrealistic. Because our mind, our brain, is a series of historical events.
Right.
And our heart is the future.
Mm.
The only thing our mind knows is history. Crazy.
Yeah.
Our heart doesn't think about the past. Our heart knows what's in the future. So how do we shut this down and then get it to align to start working for this, to start figuring out how to accomplish what this is saying? That's how you future. And when we can start feeling what it's like to be in the future today, when we can imagine that, and we can wake up in the morning and we can log into a different Instagram and we can close our eyes and start looking at all the pictures of our future and be like, I like that. I like that. You know what? Let me slide into the DMs in the quantum field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to send out a signal to Oprah. I want to work with Oprah. I did this. True story. True story. Y'all's minds are blown right now,
Yeah,
right? This is crazy
absolutely.
stuff, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to log into a different DM.
Did you get to work with Oprah?
Man, let me tell you, I'm sitting there. Now, the root word in Hebrew of the term abracadabra
Abracadabra.
means as I speak, I create.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's what it means.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Just the Western culture turns it into some magic, but it is magic.
Yeah.
So I make sure I tell my dreams to everybody. I make sure I tell my dreams to myself. I practice letting my heart have the stage all the time. And then, okay, brain, just figure out how to, you work for this now.
That's powerful.
So I'm sitting there with George Hughes in Los Angeles. And I tell George, I had a feeling. I'm going to work with Oprah. He said, that sounds great, Charlie. Cool. But I make sure I tell everybody. 2 minutes later, a lady walks by wearing like a WeWork type office. It's called Noya House in Hollywood. And this lady walks by, and George recognizes her. Hasn't seen her in 15 years. Her name is Anna Fuson. George calls Anna over. They're talking, catching up. I'm in an awkward situation. 2 old friends catching up. I'm just like sitting here like, okay, guys, like it's time to move this along. We got all the old memories. And then George says, "Oh, Charlie, tell Anna your story." And I had never had a video out. I had never done a podcast. George just knew my story personally.
Yeah.
This was before I even was Charlie Rocket. Well, I'd start telling Anna my story. I was in hip hop. I had a brain tumor. I did this, that, and the third. She pulls out a piece of paper. I said, "What are you writing down?" She said, "Well, I'm about to meet with Oprah's producer of 25 years in about 20 minutes.
No
She's going to
way.
love this."
No way.
I said, "Can I drop you off at the meeting?" She said, "Yeah." Oprah's producer of 25 years produced my Bike Ride Across America tour.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Abracadabra.
Say that one more time. What that means?
As I speak, I create.
Wow. I feel like that's how we got him here. Honestly,
100%.
like we were talking about it after our last event, and we were like, we need Charlie Rocket to come here, and it happened to be in the 2 days you had off in the end of October. Like it's really crazy like that. We gotta start wrapping this up because we got to get to the venue. For everyone listening and watching, we've got an event tonight. Hustle Up hosts these events, and Charlie has flown in to be the main speaker at this event. And we're bringing the Atlanta community out of hungry to learn people who want to learn, people who understand this language, and even those who don't. We want to plant those seeds. And so Charlie's going to be speaking of that tonight. We're very fortunate to have had him on the podcast. This has been amazing. It's been our longest one yet. We're coming up on an hour and a half.
Yeah, 135.
Yeah, so this has been really incredible. Can you briefly talk about Quantopia and where people can find you and everything?
Absolutely. So I have a podcast. It's a very different podcast. It's a secret world that I built. It's a digital speakeasy. The only way to get into the podcast is if you know a secret phone number. When you text that secret phone number, you get access to a secret website. And when you put in the secret passcode into a secret place on the website, which is all the scavenger hunt, then you become a quantum citizen. You enter into the portal where the most amazing podcast content in your life exists. It's not open to the public. It doesn't cost money. You just have to have the phone number. So maybe y'all can DM Jonathan and get the phone number from him.
Charlie got on to me yesterday for not being a member. So last night, I also became a Quantopian citizen.
How was the
Quantopia.
experience for you?
It was very cool.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
That's
You feel like you're entering into a digital speakeasy.
You are.
It's underground.
It's the
I gotta
first one
get it.
ever.
I got to get on that. I
Yeah.
feel left out now.
it's an incredible idea, and people.
Well, I'll do this. I'll
Yeah.
do this. I'll give y'all the number here on the podcast right now. I've never given it out publicly, and I'll never post it on my Instagram. Nobody, like, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I've never given the number out.
If you make it to the end of the podcast, you just got the number.
You deserve it. Yeah,
Should I give it to him?
absolutely.
404. Got to keep it ATL.
Yes.
Yeah.
404-800-1073. Good luck on finding the pink door. We got quantum citizens in the room. They know what this
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
They know what this
Oh.
is. That's quantum citizens
Can
right
we get
there.
can we get a button hit for that?
Which one?
I'm on
Ooh,
a
yeah.
winning. You know which one.
I'm on a winning streak.
Hey, shout out to all Quantopians and future Quantopians.
That's right.
And your Instagram name is @Charlie
At Charlie.
CHARLIE.
Absolutely.
And if anyone else are there any other ways they can get in touch with you or any other kind of content?
Yeah, man. DM me in the quantum field.
That's right. Tune into the Charlie Rocket frequency.
I'm telling you, there are people who manifest me all the time, and our paths cross a week later.
Yeah.
Wow.
It happens all the time.
Well, man, this is just the beginning for you, man. Like I know you've already accomplished a lot, but I see where you're going. You're halfway through your Science of Dreams tour. Congratulations on your first national
you.
tour. That's amazing.
Thank you, brother.
Where are some of your next stops on that?
Ooh, from here, I fly to Phoenix. From Phoenix, I go to San Diego to Delaware to Cabo to New York to, it gets blurry after that. It's so many different cities.
That's really amazing, man. And for anyone listening, I'm sure we'll have some event footage from you from the event tonight after we post this podcast. This has been a really special one. This is our first episode in the new studio.
Beautiful.
Charlie Rocket flew in to help us celebrate that. Is helping us celebrate our event tonight. I'm Jonathan Hessing at JONATHANHESSING.
I'm Clint Crow at Clint Crow with an E on the end.
I'm Matt Gammon at MG Music.
And you know who we are. It says it on the wall. Hustle up at HSTL UP, www.HSTLUP.com. Man, Charlie, can we get some last few departing words for everyone who's listening?
This is what I want you to do with your dreams. I want you to say this sentence when you're thinking about your dreams. It's already done. Time hasn't caught up yet. That's the frequency I'm tuned to. And I wrote down in my notebook, I'm a Nike athlete. I already said it's going to be easy, and it's already done. If I can see the dream, it means it's already been written.
Just time to bring it into this reality.
Just got to show up.
Let's go. Show up and show out. That's right. Hey, thank you guys so much for listening and watching.
Thank you.